kick it off, or is she ready back there?
She's ready.
Okay. Greetings, everyone. Nice to have such a great turnout. Means we've got active political things going on here. I've got some ground rules I want to read. Here we go. On behalf of the citizens of Cooper County and the Boonville Area Chamber of Commerce, thank you for taking the time to attend this forum and meet with your constituents in this modified format. So we're doing things a little different this year because of the COVID. In addition to the ground rules outlined in your letter of invitation, there are a few items to address so that you have a clear understanding of proper procedure and decorum. This forum is meant to inform voters about what challenges you believe exist in the Cooper County area and how you plan to address them. It is not to provide a stage for a candidate to bash an opponent or to give your assessment, and I'm not turning around to blame you guys, and give your assessment of your opponent's performance. Statements about perceived work ethic and job performance are less important than what you can and will bring to the table if elected. What you see as areas that require immediate action and how your education and experience prepare you for the office you seek. Voters need to learn who you are, your motivation behind your choice to run for public office, what you would do if elected, and how you would accomplish your goals. If your comments fall outside of these rules of order, you will receive one caution. If you persist, you will be escorted from the chamber, from the council chamber. I look pretty scary, don't I? Time limits will be strictly enforced. Introductory comments from candidates in uncontested races will be limited to 2 minutes with a 30-second warning. Candidates in contested races will be allowed 3 minutes for introductory remarks. Where did I lose my place? No questions? I'll move to that. With a 30-second warning, candidates in contested races will be allowed 3 minutes for introductory remarks with a 30-second warning. All questions will be read by a moderator from a list of prepared questions received from county residents. Responses to these questions will be limited to 1 minute with a 10-second warning. All candidates from the group running for a specific position will be allowed to answer all questions unless the question contains factual information specific to one candidate, which I don't think we really have, in which case that individual would be the sole respondent. Each round of questions will rotate with a different lead speaker until each candidate has spoken first. Candidates who are unable to attend this evening's forum and have asked another to speak on his or her behalf will be allowed to read from a prepared statement, but will not participate in the question and answer sessions. Those prepared statements will also have a 3-minute time limit. If you are ready to begin, let's start with those running unopposed for election or re-election. Christy Linhart seeking re-election as county assessor, and Chris Class seeking election to the Cooper County Sheriff's seat. James Hurt seeking re-election as Cooper County coroner cannot be reached. So Christy, we'll start with you, and if you have something prepared you would like to read out.
1 second, Ken. This, if you look there, you'll see your warning. Oh, she'll give you your, okay?
Okay. Good evening. I want to thank the Chamber for hosting this event, and thank you, Ken. We pay property taxes because we want better roads, schools, fire and law enforcement protection, city services, etc. It is my job to place values on all real estate and personal property in Cooper County. Thus far, I have accomplished. All the information on our GIS website is free to the public. All the information is a matter of public record. This gives you transparency and me accountability. I have implemented safety procedures for my staff while they are in the field. The Missouri state statutes gives the assessor lawful entry onto all real estate. My field techs wear neon t-shirts or vests. They have on identification badges with a picture. Vehicles are well marked. We leave a door hanger explaining that we were there and why. I am currently looking into the use of body cams. I have replaced and implemented new software that is more efficient and accurate and therefore cost effective. The collector and myself have installed a drop box at the north door of the courthouse for your convenience. In 2021, I will implement online personal property filing. My field techs will begin using mobile office. This will improve efficiency and save time, therefore being cost effective. Lastly, this opportunity to be your public servant has been the experience of my lifetime, and I am truly honored. I will continue to uphold and follow the laws of this office, but I also work for you. I encourage you to come in or call if you have any questions, want to check your information, or just want to know the process. I thank you for your past support and your future support. Please get to the polls and let your voice be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy.
You clap.
I've got a couple questions for you.
Oh, okay. I didn't think I would have any.
Well, surprise. We didn't want you to feel left out.
I don't feel left out. What?
I think you actually covered the first question I have here, so maybe just tell us what you would hope to accomplish during your second term.
Well, I'm gonna put online personal property filing, which I think this day and age, a lot of people would appreciate that instead of having to mail back that list to us. And I'm gonna implement mobile office, which will let my field techs, you know, now they carry a tape, they carry a folder with several papers in it, a mobile office and a camera. Mobile office will allow them to just do everything on a tablet instead of having all that they're carrying around. So it's gonna speed up the process. They'll get through more parcels of land they gotta look at. Those are my two main things.
Excellent. This other question I think you pretty well answered, but you can expound on it if there's anything left. Describe changes or improvements you have made in the assessor's office to better serve Crooper County residents, if you didn't cover
The
that already.
website being free to the public was a big one. They pay for the information anyway, so I thought, you know, why make them have to pay again for that information? The new software that we have purchased and implemented, it's a new vendor. It does so much more than the old software we just got rid of. You know, it's more high-tech, faster, we do more things with it. So that's gonna improve office efficiency. You know, I mean, there's a lot of work that has to be done up there, a lot of information that we have to be able to tweak, you know, and get reports from. So that's what I have done in my first 4.
Very good. We appreciate you coming tonight. You're welcome to either stay or leave,
No.
whichever you.
Thank you.
Chris Klass, if you'd like to introduce yourself and give your opening statement.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Klass. I am the Republican candidate for sheriff, currently the only candidate for sheriff of Cooper County. A little bit about me. I'm a lifelong resident of Cooper County, grew up in the Prairie Home area, member of Zion Lutheran Church. I have a wife and 2 kids. We live here in the Boonville area. My career started over 20 years ago. I may not look that old to a lot of you guys, but back in '99 I started at the jail. I got promoted from the jail to a sergeant, then moved over to the road division, become a lieutenant 11 years ago. So I have literally worked my way up the ladder in my office. Due to the different positions that I held, that gives me the knowledge of each of the different aspects that a sheriff needs to know. He's not just one part of the road or the jail. It's a combination. Also, court personnel. I have also been shown that as a member of the sheriff's office, we have one of the largest responsibilities in any law enforcement agency, because we go from criminal investigations to civil process, to officers of the court, and to traffic enforcers for some people that don't like that. I have had a couple, that's quick. A couple role models, Paul Milne, Jerry Wolf. I plan to uphold the Constitution and the laws of this county. I am very proud to be in this county and be in this position, and I look forward to serving the citizens and working with the office holders to better serve this county. Thank you for the time.
Okay, Chris, thank you for that statement. Got Several questions for you. Again, there will be a time on them. First of all, what do you see as the top challenges facing the Cooper County Sheriff?
One of the top challenges is always going to be funding for the sheriff's office because we have to maintain our road division with our vehicles, with our personnel. We also have the jail that was built back in '99. There's some updates that, as things get older. But one of the main things for me is communication with the public. I would like to sit down with a lot of the different smaller jurisdictions within the county and find out what their needs are, and then we can better help serve those needs if we can figure out what they are.
Okay. What changes, improvements, or updates do you see that are needed, if any?
Well, as I stated, retired Sheriff Paul Mooney and the current Sheriff Jerry Wolf have done an excellent job at that office. That there could be, we just upgraded our actual RMS system. We actually have a jail tracker system that's online. That would be something, once I get in there, I would have to look and see, in my opinion, in the next year or two, to see what needs upgrading from that point. But right now, we're pretty good where we're at.
Okay. Last question. What kind of training do Cooper County deputies have to fully provide crisis intervention when dealing with people who suffer from mental health issues, substance abuse, or other conditions which might indicate she or he is a danger to herself or himself and/or others?
The Cooper County Sheriff's Office is part of the CIT team, Crisis Intervention Team, which includes Cooper County Sheriff's Office, Boonville PD, Fayette PD, and Howard County Sheriff's Office. We just here recently become a member of the CIT team, so a lot of our deputies and jail staff have been through that training. So through the years of my training, I've went to bits and pieces of different aspects of that training, but now we're actually fully set up to send people to the training to learn how to deal with people with mental illness instead of just arresting them or going hands-on, so we can do a better job of that.
Okay, very good. Appreciate your answers. Thank you for attending tonight, and good luck against that non-opponent.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Our next category is U.S. Representative District 4. Have two people here, is that right?
Actually, there's going to be,
Is there another one that came in?
Come on up, and candidate Coops also.
Coming up in what now?
there's a spot for you.
Thank you.
There's a spot over there for you. Who's going to talk first? That's for answering questions. This is for the order of answering questions. Who has the lowest number?
6 or 9, I'm not sure.
Six.
Two.
Okay, so you're going to be first, second, and third on the first question, okay? And then we can, I've got some, I'll come back and do the second. Let's get started.
So we'll start out by letting each one of you give an opening statement, and then I think Karen's let you draw questions that will be.
We have 3 minutes.
That is right, isn't it? 3 minutes, And she'll give you a 30-second warning, right?
30 and a 10.
30 and a 10.
Okay.
So please introduce yourself. If you're not the person running, tell us who you're representing, and we'll go from there.
Number two,
Okay.
go ahead.
My name is Stephen Coons. I'm a Libertarian candidate to represent the 4th Congressional District. I was raised on a farm near Polly Grove. I graduated from Polly Grove High School. I've earned a bachelor's degree in business administration at Central Missouri State University. I served 5 tours in Vietnam and have retired as an Army Master Sergeant based on active and reserve duty. I've been married for 43 years and have raised 3 children. I'm a member of St. Bartholomew's Catholic Church in Windsor, Missouri, and am a member of the VFW. I have lived in Leeton, Missouri for the past 35 years. My experience makes me the best candidate to serve in the U.S. House of Representatives. I have worked in private industry as a staff accountant. I have been employed in the federal government as an auditor with the Department of Energy and as a loan analyst with the Farm Credit Administration. I have recently retired from the Missouri Department of Insurance after 20 years as a financial examiner. My experience analyzing farm loans and examining farm mutual companies enhances my understanding of farming issues. My 24 years of active and military experience encompass duties in intelligence and logistics, which enables me to understand issues that may arise with the military. The unemployment caused by the pandemic will be a focus of mine. Our infrastructure needs an upgrade to include the electrical grid and accessibility to the rural internet. The upgrades will create jobs. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 of the Constitution says that Congress shall have power to regulate commerce with foreign nations. So I will work to eliminate trade barriers with all countries to ensure that the goods produced in the 4th District will be freely traded. I will work with the executive branch on issues of war to ensure that contemplation will be thought out. I will work to ensure that the money Congress appropriates will also be thought out and will have clear purposes. The core of my libertarian political view is that each person has the right to live his life the way he chooses, as long as he respects the equal rights of others. Besides personal liberty, I believe in economic freedom and voluntary associations. My age, 72, and my vast and varied experiences set me apart from the other candidates. I will easily recognize the bad things of history that tend to repeat themselves, and I will assert my voice to prevent their occurrence. I am in excellent health.
He that would make his own liberty secure must guard even his enemy from oppression. For if he violates this duty, he established a precedent that will reach to himself. Thomas Paine. I'm Robert E. Smith, and I am the constitutional candidate in Missouri's 4th District. I have chosen to run for office for our children's sake. As a husband and father of 4, it is my duty to secure a future of freedom and opportunity for my family. For too long, we have allowed our governments on all levels to water down and dilute our constitutional rights. As a patriot, with patriot blood running in my veins, it is also my duty to defend, honor, and restore our Constitution to its full glory. I've watched over the years our federal government overstep its 30 enumerated powers and encroach more into our daily lives. I will watch no longer. It is time we as citizens under the Constitution stand up and declare the Constitution as the supreme law of the land. We must band together to defend our republic against the domestic enemy that has infiltrated our country. This domestic enemy is any organization or persons that betrays our Constitution. As we contemplate 2020, let us not confuse conservative for constitutional. Just because a candidate claims to be conservative, it does not mean they are constitutional. We have witnessed war without a declaration, red flag laws, gun bans, soaring debt, no-knock warrants, cronyism, bills passed that we did not want, corporate welfare, government spying on U.S. citizens, and corruption, all perpetrated by liberals and conservative representatives. This year, let's elect someone to uphold their oath and the Constitution. It's time Missouri's 4th District sends a patriot to the House. Vote Robert E. Smith. I'm a small produce farmer. We supply vegetables to local grocery stores and restaurants within a 200-mile radius. I know what it's like to run a business, and I know what it's like to start it from the ground up. We're currently building our own home. We build our own dreams. We're living the American dream, my family and I. As your representative, I will stand up for your rights, get the federal government out of your lives, and let the states choose what's best for them. Besides that, I hope you guys really look past my youth. I am only 36, but I'm well studied in the Constitution and I understand it thoroughly. I study it like I study my Bible. I brought Constitution pocketbooks for everybody to have. If I did not get a chance to give you one, please take it home. The Declaration of Independence is in there. The 27 grievances that were listed in the Declaration of Independence is relevant today. So please consider voting for me. August 4th is my primary, and then carry me forward to November 3rd in 2020. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Neil Gist, a Republican. Many are the obligations of our United States representatives. My question to you is, what is their first and foremost responsibility? Some will argue that their job is to represent their constituents. But what if one of my constituents comes to me and they say, we need this vital infrastructure, raise taxes if necessary. And another one comes to me and they say, these taxes are hurting my family, lower them. Who exactly do I represent? Or imagine, let's get rid of the partisanship and say that 100% of my constituents come to me and they say, guns are evil, abolish them. My response would be, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm sorry. Because true representation can only occur within the context of upholding our oath to support and defend the Constitution. After 250 years of pandering politicians, our government has grown so far beyond its original design, our founders wouldn't recognize it. They would struggle to find correlation between our declared rights versus those rights in practice. For example, the First Amendment guarantees our right to assembly, to practice our religions, to speak our minds. Yet between the mandated lockdowns, church closings, and free speech zones, we can easily observe that this is not the case. The Second Amendment ensures that we can defend ourselves. Yet when that couple in St. Louis did just that, police showed up to their house with a warrant to confiscate their weapon. When law enforcement is used to subvert the law, then we have a republic of men and a government that destroys liberty instead of preserving it. The Fourth Amendment protects our privacy. Yet the surveillance state is in full operation through online data mining, GPS tracking, and unholy alliances between big tech and government agencies. When American heroes like Edward Snowden reveal the full extent of our government's crimes, they are forced to flee and live in exile. Which brings us to the Fifth Amendment, which states that no person shall be deprived of property without due process. Innocent businesses are being forcibly closed by tyrants and fearmongers all over this nation. What monarchical powers do they think they have to ordain a business as non-essential and shut it down? The Sixth Amendment ensures your right to a speedy and public trial. Yet because of legislation such as the National Defense Authorization Act, it is possible for federal government to indefinitely detain American citizens without trial. Sending the same career politicians to Congress will yield the same results. It is our civic duty to remove those who have failed in upholding their oaths. My name is Neil Gist. It would be my great honor to represent you, to fight, to restore your constitutional liberties. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tricia Swartz, and I'm the political director for Congresswoman Vicki Hartzler. Vicki could not be here this evening because the House is in session in Washington, D.C. this week. However, I will speak on Vicki's behalf and share a few reasons why I encourage you to vote for Vicki this August and November. First and foremost, Vicki is one of us fighting for us. Vicki shares our values, such as the values of faith and hard work, which Vicki learned while growing up on a family farm in Cass County. As current chairwoman of the House Values Action Team, Vicki has led efforts to promote the values of our district, including faith, family, and freedom. She wrote a letter to the Department of Health asking the Trump administration to stop federal funds known as family planning dollars from going to Planned Parenthood. Vicki's leadership has helped to reduce Planned Parenthood's funding by $60 million per year. Vicki is also a senior member of the House Agriculture Committee, and she has accomplished a lot of work to create better opportunities for rural families in the district. Vicki voted for the new USMCA trade agreement, which will help more farmers to sell their agriculture products to our biggest trading partners. Vicki also sponsored language in the last Farm Bill that will fund rural broadband expansion and ensure that rural broadband has reliable speed. She is also a member of the House Armed Services Committee, and she understands that our district plays an essential role in our national defense. And she has secured funding for our military bases here in Missouri, including funding for a hospital at Fort Leonard Wood and the new B-21 bomber program at Whiteman Air Force Base. Vicki has been an effective voice for us in Congress because she shares our values and she has advocated for the concerns of our district. Several organizations have recognized her work and have endorsed her campaign, including National Right to Life, the NRA, and U.S. Chamber of Commerce. I know Vicki will continue to be an effective voice for us if she is reelected to the U.S. House of Representatives. Thank you, and please make sure to vote for Vicki Hartzler this August and November.
Thank you, folks, for those opening remarks. I'll ask you several questions. You won't get to answer for Vicki. That's kind of the ground rules. I think we'll start on this question. Are you going to just have them draw? Okay.
Well.
So let's start by going in the same order we just went. Okay.
Second.
We'll do first, second, and third on these. Okay. Robert's first, right?
Yeah, you have to ask that question.
Oh. I thought you had questions.
Oh, no. That's just to
Okay.
figure out who goes first.
So, going to ask a question, and each of the other two will have a chance. Is that the way you want
Right,
to do this?
in the order that we
Okay.
just mentioned.
Okay. So, Robert, are you for or against imposing term limits on members of Congress? Why or why not?
In the Constitution, it's enumerated that there's already rules set for members of Congress. I believe that we should be wary of the people who refuse to turn over their power. That's why I have promised to hold myself to self-imposed term limits. In Boston, you can see a statue of George Washington handing over a scroll, and that is him turning over his military power as representing like Caesar was supposed to, but Caesar did not. And that's how he kept his power, and they became the Roman nation they became. So what we need to do is, if the constituents want, we can impose term limits, but I strongly insist that everybody look to vote for candidates that are willing to give up that power. And if they exceed what they say, then you know they're a liar. Thank you.
Same question to Mr. Coons?
Huh?
Same question to Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, same question. I'm not opposed to term limits. I think the constituency should select the best person, and if the person that's in office has experience and knows the ropes and is getting the job done, then why kick them out? So that's my reasoning.
Yes, absolutely. The people demand it. It's long overdue. That will be one of my major short-term priorities. Term limits, it's time. One of the responsibilities that we're supposed to have as Missourians is to reflect the Missouri Constitution in the United States Constitution. That's one of the major clues that we have as to how we can effectively represent our constituents. And Missouri has term limits. We've had them since 1992. They've been very effective. And so I think we can look to our model here to replicate in DC. Now, politicians have been talking about doing this for a long time, and they just won't. Once they get into power, they won't yield it. So we need new blood in there who aren't tied to the temptation of the allure of affluence and power, whatever it is that goes on there that makes all of them repent from their term limit promises. But that's something we need right away. And if that doesn't work, then I will be a loud advocate for a convention of states as a way to circumvent Congress and get that in the Constitution.
Okay, you all have numbers again for the order.
4.
And who has spoken first? I believe you have, Mr. Kunz, have you spoken first, I believe, or not?
I think it was second.
Yeah.
After, yeah.
Opening statement, he was first.
Okay, okay. What is your number?
4.
And what is your number, Neil?
6.
6. So we've got a 4, a 5, and a 6.
Okay. Gentlemen, the next question is, from your perspective, what is the number one issue the U.S. House must address in 2021?
The number one issue is the war powers. It's Congress that is the one that declares war. Right now, the executive willy-nilly goes out all over the world with military troops. We've got like 38 bases in the Sahel in Africa. I don't know why they're there. 19 years we've been in Afghanistan, so I think Congress, who has the power, needs to, as I've said in my opening statement, needs to work with the executive, try to ascertain their desires of using military force and work with them to get an end to all these wars. So that's my number one priority in long term. Pandemic is something that has to be addressed right now, though.
That is a tough question. There's a lot of important things to go on. I would say one of the first things that we need to do is we need to get lobbyists and cronyism out of our Congress, because we will not accomplish anything as long as those two things persist. You can't end wars if the cronyism and lobbyists want war. You can't end national debt and soaring deficits as long as cronyism and lobbyists are in our Congress buying our representatives. Our representatives don't even write the laws anymore. Lobbyists and corporations give it to them and tell them to vote for it. And then they'll spend their money until they get the amount of yeses they need. So we need to attack the cronyism and the lobbyists and the special interest, and we need to get corporate America from dictating our legislative sessions. Thank you.
The most important issue for 2021 is rebuking these unconstitutional and illegal orders and mandates concerning coronavirus, mandated mask ordinances, shutting down of businesses. We are crippling, if not destroying, our free market economy through totalitarian action that is wholly unconstitutional and illegal. Only Congress can legislate. Mayors can't do it. The health department can't do it. That's not their job. And the idea that we ought to just roll over while America is being crippled like this, well, it makes no sense. It's not sustainable. We can't thrive as an economy if we're not allowed to have our businesses. So that would be the biggest one for 2021. Also, definitely making sure that there's no mandated vaccinations being imposed for coronavirus or anything like that.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Neil, have you started first?
I don't.
You have not, okay. Start with Neil.
Our next question. How do you propose getting 48 million unemployed workers back to work? If you have some specific ideas, we'd like to hear them.
The government can't create jobs. True job creation comes from entrepreneurship and free market competition. The best thing that we can do is get regulations and price controls out of the way that are crippling entrepreneurs from being able to enter into their markets and compete with the big dogs that can afford the lobbyists and can afford to shoulder the weight of those burdening regulations and prices. Another thing we ought to do is address price controls in labor. If we already do it, the free market works with internships in doing this. People work for free to gain experience, to network, to build up their portfolio so they can go and get a good job. Well, that relationship in a work environment occurs whether or not you're making no money or a bunch of money. So we need to lower minimum wage and open up the labor market to all sorts of jobs that are being forcibly driven out by government regulation. Thank you.
Mr. Coons, I'll be
Could
more than willing to.
Could you repeat the question?
Sure. How do you propose getting 48 million unemployed workers back to work, if you have some specific ideas?
In regard to the pandemic, I think now's the time to improve the infrastructure. All the crises we've had in the past, it's always been the banks. Right now, they're printing money for funds to get money into the economy to spend, to try to spend our way out. And this is monetary policy. Fiscal policy is in infrastructure. You improve the electrical grid, the water, roads, get the rural internet going, which we need sorely right now to get our kids educated. China people are going gangbusters being educated. So that's what I'm going to do, get money into the infrastructure, and there'll be jobs created as a result.
If we want to get 48 million Americans back to work, I think we need to look towards the future of the future economy. And I believe the next economic boom is going to come from cannabis and hemp. Hemp is going to fuel the next economy, and it's going to open up more money for farmers. It's going to feed the world, and it's going to create textiles that the rest of the world wants. Cannabis is also medicinal, and it also has been noted that it lowers people's opiate addictions, and it has more than one use other than just your traditional junkie. The second thing that we need to do is we need to stop taxing mom and pop stores to death. And we need to look towards fixing Social Security and replacing the $2.8 trillion that are in it. And then we need to look at reducing the Social Security tax and the self-employment tax. I pay 12.2% of my money to a program that won't be there when I'm ready to retire. We also need to go about our business and reduce the regulations that you see on mom and pop stores that's pushing them out of the industry. There is not enough time on that one, thank you.
Do this as the last question.
Okay.
One last question. People have the right to lawful assembly, even when the purpose might be controversial. What steps would you propose to allow peaceful protests, and what steps should be taken toward those who would use the same opportunity to riot, loot, and destroy property? What's our order, Karen? Shall we just go around this way? Does that suit everybody?
Would you repeat the question one
Sure.
more time?
Sure.
I'm positive I have a grasp on it.
Okay. People have the right to lawful assembly, even when the purpose might be controversial. What steps would you propose to allow peaceful protests? And at the same time, what steps should be taken towards those who would use the same opportunity to riot, loot, and destroy property?
First of all, nobody can allow you to peacefully assemble. That is something that's guaranteed. So anytime that you allow somebody to do it, that's to insinuate that you have taken that right away. Second of all, if you loot and commit crimes, you commit a crime. You're a criminal. Unfortunately, when you do those things, there's repercussions and there's consequences, and people just need to own up to that repercussions and consequences. Law enforcement should arrest you and prosecute you to the full extent of the law. I understand people's frustrations when it comes to the fact that we feel like we're not being heard, but we really need to stop beating a dead horse and electing the same representatives to the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate, because that's exactly why we're in the situation we're in right now, is we're ignored the Constitution, we've allowed our constitutional rights to be usurped from our congressional members, and it's time that we stand up and we take it back. And nothing's going to change until we change the people that's in D.C., and that's a fact.
Well, peaceful protest is, someone's peaceful protest is somebody else's anarchy. I mean, there's protests on the statues being driven down. I really protest that. And then there's the protest on the police brutality. Well, I protest that too. They shouldn't be getting out of hand. So when people start looting, I believe that the police should not hold back and arrest these people. I think that the law enforcement should be established. Right now we've got a protest in Portland where we don't know who is grabbing those protesters. I think it should be identified and have accountability and responsibility for those that are enforcing the law. Okay.
I think there's been a lot of cowardice coming from our leadership who have failed to condemn the riots, the domestic terrorists. They are occupying cities illegally. That is an act of invasion. If Mexico came and occupied 6 blocks somewhere, we'd get them out, right? So if they want to declare themselves a sovereign entity, then they have invaded, and that's an act of war. And I'm pretty sure they don't want us to treat them like that's what they're doing and that's what they are. But that's what is happening. And so we need law enforcement to get in there and get them all out. And we need our leaders to step up and condemn it for what it is. The complacency of many of our liberal leaders to actually to lift their lockdown orders, to participate. It shows what a farce this whole thing is. It's been a travesty. It's all political. They don't care about keeping the spread of coronavirus by having us all under house arrest, because apparently you can go out and riot and that's a good thing and you're totally fine. So a failure in Congress in that part.
We thank you all for your attendance and participation tonight and for the discussion, and wish all of you good luck.
Thank you for inviting me, I appreciate it. Yeah, you betcha.
What do you want from me? Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Our next round of questions will be for the State Senate District 19.
And their name tags are right here for candidate Baker and candidate Brown. Actually, you're right here.
Oh, yeah.
You're right here. You're gonna stay right there. Stay right here. Place the people that are up there. You know, until you just rotate whoever goes first. You're going first? Okay, and you go second, and then just rotate. Perfect.
So whenever you guys are ready, whichever one of you has the, Caleb?
Yeah,
So each of you make your statement, and then we'll ask a few questions.
great. Thank you. It's good to be here. Thanks to the Boonville Chamber for hosting. My name is Caleb Rowden, and I have the privilege of serving you as your 19th District State Senator. I also have the privilege of serving as a Missouri Senate Majority Leader. I've been in that position for 2 years. I'm ending my first term, my 4th year in the Senate. I served 4 years in the House before that. It has been an honor, really, just a humbling experience to be able to serve Boone and Cooper counties in the Missouri Senate. When I ran 4 years ago, I ran on 3 pillars, 3 things that we wanted to work on to make our schools better, our economy stronger, and our community safer. Those things are the things that aren't partisan in nature. Those things are the things that I actually think regular people need and want and are asking of us as their elected representatives. And I'm excited and proud to say that we've been able to accomplish a tremendous amount in that regard. Over the last 4 years, my 4 years in the state senate, we've fully funded K-12 education every year during that period of time. We've continued to make strides in the area of workforce development, further investments in 2-year and 4-year higher education institutions, and have done a number of things in the public safety space as it relates to safe communities that I think are really important in making distinctions between nonviolent and violent offenders, finding ways for folks in the nonviolent realm to have different ways out that doesn't just involve them sitting behind bars for periods of time, but then also making sure that folks that are committing those violent offenses are being punished to the fullest extent of the law. So it has been an honor to serve you. What you see is what you get with me. If you don't agree with something that I believe in, we can have a great conversation about why we disagree, and I'm going to respect you, and I hope that you respect me. If I say I'm going to do something in Jefferson City, I'm going to do it. I'm proud of the results that we've been able to bring over the last 4 years, and hopefully I'll have a chance to do that over the next 4 years. Thank you, guys.
I'm Judy Baker, and I'm also running for state senate. And because some of you don't know me very well, I'm going to do a little bit more on my bio. So I am the daughter of a military man and a teacher, and we grew up pretty much all over the United States on what you call military installations. And I had a very diverse experience that way. I grew up with all kinds of folks, and I can have a conversation with just about anyone. My dad was a Republican, and my mother was a Democrat, so I consider myself really well balanced. And my dad still loves me, but we have really good conversations. I have 3 children, and I have 2 degrees from the University of Missouri. Really, really thankful to the state of Missouri for helping provide me an education that I treasure, and I want to continue to support the University of Missouri. I then went to seminary. I have a master's degree in divinity as well. I know that seems a little odd. And I'm a former pastor's wife, and I make sure people know that he's a former pastor. I'm still his wife. And we've raised our kids in Boone County. We don't live in the city, we live out in the county, and we have enjoyed our life there very, very much. I want to see a better Missouri, and that's why I'm running for state senate. I couch everything under let's build a Missouri we want. I was a state representative just after I got out of the private sector, where I was a healthcare executive, and I saw how broken the healthcare system was. So I decided to go into policymaking, because that's where you can make some real difference. So I was a state representative, and what did they do right away when I became a state representative? They cut 200,000 people off Medicaid. I'm like, what? How can this happen? So ever since then, I've pretty much been fighting for making sure that everyone had access to health care in the state of Missouri. And we've lost that in the last few years. So I continue to fight for Medicaid expansion, and I know some people don't like government health care. But let me tell you something, I'm all for free market. I am. I'm all for free market on things that can be on the free market. Medicaid is a low-income working family's health insurance, especially in rural areas. Low-income working, if you're working and you're making just minimum wage, you're probably not getting health insurance, and you can't. So I want to make sure that we do Medicaid expansion. I'll tell you more about that when I have more time and she's not yelling at me.
Thank you both for those statements. I think we're off to a good start. This either could sound like a simple question or it could be very difficult.
How long do we have?
What is the number one issue facing the Missouri Senate, and in particular District 19, in the session that begins in 2021?
I think I go first. So I really believe that probably the most important thing that I will do as a health policy expert, I also have taught health policy in master's level places for years. And I have watched how the system has become more and more and more broken. And we get very little value out of our healthcare system. It just keeps going up and less people have it. It's just a crazy, crazy system. So Medicaid expansion is on the ballot in just a few weeks. And I have a feeling it's going to pass. And when it does, I want to be in the Senate as a health policy expert to make sure that we get the best value out of that program. It's going to cover about 200,000 extra folks that are working adults. And it'll be $2.5 billion of new economic output in the state of Missouri. We've left that on the table now for 6 or 7 years. I can't remember. It's probably 6 or 7 years. And my opponent has voted against it every single time. $2.5 billion of extra output in our country. In our state.
I think, the next couple of years, we have to figure out what the future looks like in the long term post-COVID-19. We have, obviously, there's been a tremendous amount of things that have happened. The economy has shrunk to nothing, and we have now that we are beginning to see the back end of this, we've got to look ahead. And I think the states that figure out how to do that, the states that figure out how to open up their economy the right way, the states that find new ways to innovate and create and invest in the proper spots can get in front of the curve. And so I'm hopeful that in my time in the Missouri Senate over the next 4 years, because I think we're going to be talking about it for the next 4 years, is to find out what those creative, innovative things are and to find ways to incentivize that at the state level. More people working. There is no shortcut to more people working, more money in people's pockets, more people paying taxes. It's the best way to grow the economy, and that's what we can do in Missouri. But we've got to get out in front, and I think we have an opportunity to do that.
Thank you both for those opinions. Okay, question number 2. Give your opinion of Governor Parsons' response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, I think for the most part he's done a fine job. There have been some things that I've disagreed with and have been vocal about throughout the process. But I think everybody has to realize we're all flying by the seat of our pants on this thing. Brand new for everybody. There's a lot of nuance to it. You have to make sure that you find the distinctions between what the government could or should do and what the government can't do, and when they enter into an interaction, does it actually make it worse? And so, I think the governor's done what he could do for the most part. We're always going to be able to look on the back end as we get towards the back end of this, hopefully, look back and say, hey, look, here's some things that we can learn. Let's be better. Let's learn from our mistakes and be better going forward. We all have the potential to do that. The Monday morning quarterbacking in the middle of a pandemic is just not something that I've decided to invest a whole lot of resources in. Thank you.
I agree in that I think there's some things that have been done right and some things that have been done wrong. And you can see that now in a pretty severe uptick in the cases again. So are we looking at another shelter at home like many other cities and states are doing right now? As a public health person, I'd like us to just follow the science. Follow the science. People know and have been prepared to do these things. Now, what has happened is, in this particular case, is we needed 3 things. We needed early masking because it works. The science has proven it. We need early social distancing, which we have done. And congratulations, we have done that here. We all think that that's a good thing. And thirdly, the contact tracing and testing. And it's been a miserable failure, frankly. That's being able to test and then trace, because if you can trace who someone has been with, then you can manage and contain the virus. And I think that we failed at that.
Thank you very much. Third question. As a member of the state Senate, how will your party affiliation enhance your efforts to provide the best possible results for District 19? Thank you, and
I appreciate that question. However, I don't think that's how we should choose our representatives. I think we choose our representatives on who is the best candidate who has a vision for the future. I want to build the Missouri we want. The current leadership has been in leadership for a good long time. They were there when I was there as a state representative, and we're working on a lot of the same issues that I was there over a decade ago. So I believe that the leadership needs to be changed. I have this vision for better education, higher education. I started a not-for-profit in Boone County that helps children start bank accounts so that they can start saving for college. And it's for low-income families mostly, and we're trying to make sure that they know how to save. You know that over 50% of Americans don't even have $1,000 to fall back on. So our economy is not working the way it is. We've been promised a lot about the economy and jobs and blah, blah, blah. We need new leadership. And I think that that's how we should be making our decisions, not on party affiliation.
It is a good question, and it's a relevant one to this campaign. As I said before, I am the Senate Majority Leader, which, for anybody who doesn't know, is kind of the traffic cop for everything that happens in the Senate. And so Cooper County, I can say with definitive authority, has never had as loud of a voice as you do right now in the state Senate. That is a true fact. And it is also a true fact that if I'm not there in 2021, your voice will be weaker. That is an absolute reality that I don't think anybody can argue against. I agree. The party affiliation in and of itself is not the be-all, end-all. I work diligently and do a tremendous amount of work with folks on the other side of the aisle. Even though it's a small number in the Senate, it's 24 to 8, right? 23 to 8 right now. We work hand in hand on a lot of stuff. 75, 80% of the votes that we take are bipartisan. I'm going to continue to do that, but just know for fact that if I'm not there, you have a weaker voice. That's a reality that you have to take into account as you figure out who you're going to vote for in November.
Thank you, and we'll do one last question. What is a current issue in the state that you plan to immediately support for passage? Caleb, you'll be first.
You know, there's a whole host of them. I think the one of the ones that we're working on pretty diligently right now, I convened a group of folks that included law enforcement officials, the NAACP, the ACLU, and a whole host of folks that probably haven't sat around the table with each other very often in the last few years. The idea of what we're doing in the area of public safety and what things can be done to make our community safer is a conversation that's not going away. And so we have to figure out how to have the conversation in a way that brings everybody to the table, that builds consensus, and does everything that we can do to make sure that when we go home at night, when we go to our neighborhoods, that our communities are safe and that we have law and order in our communities. That's a conversation that I'm leading. That's a conversation that I'm going to continue to work on because I think it's pertinent and relevant to every single person in the 19th Century. Thank you.
I love this question. So we just talked about having a voice. People really don't feel like they have a voice right now. And there's a lot of anger on the streets. There's a lot of anxiety. Because we don't feel like we have a voice. We don't feel like we have much power. And the reason, one of the big reasons is because all of the large money in politics and the unfair maps that have been drawn for years. So Clean Missouri came along and we voted on that. So Clean Missouri is the one thing that I would urge passage of right now, if it were me. And it's happening in November. And excuse me, Clean Missouri passed 2 years ago. And our district, Senate 19, actually voted for it at 72%. Okay, so clean, dirty Missouri is what we call it, because it is an overdue, it is an undo of the will of the people. So we voted 72% for clean Missouri, and right now they put on the ballot to undo the will of the people. We want a voice. We want limits on contributions and fair maps.
Thank you both. We'll let you both either take another seat or go home, whichever you would prefer. We appreciate your participation very much.
You can take it. I'll give it to you. Okay.
Thank you.
So in this group, we have candidates for state representative for 3 different districts. That would be district number 47, 48, and 50. Each of these districts impacts part of this area. And we will probably direct most of these questions to you guys as a group. And I think Karen's putting out numbers there. So these numbers to start with will be for your opening statement.
Great, I got a lot.
I don't know about you folks, but we've covered, I think, a lot of ground and only used an hour so far. So I think we're moving along pretty well, still having a good discussion. And these next 2 groups are going to be a little larger, but I think it'll work out. I have no idea who has the numbers. What order are we going in, Karen?
Wrote them in for you.
Okay, it looks like the order will be Carrie, Don, Adrian, Bill, Chuck, and Tim. So, Carrie?
All right. Thank you so much to the Chamber for letting us all come here and speak tonight. My name is Carrie Chesney. I am a veterinarian and PhD candidate studying comparative medicine at the University of Missouri. And I am the Democratic candidate for Missouri's 50th House District. My career trajectory, heavily focused on science and medicine, doesn't probably seem like a very traditional path to public office, but I feel that a lot of the skills that I use in my day-to-day life are extraordinarily relevant to being a representative for public office. As a veterinarian, my main job is to advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves, to use data and evidence to be their voice. And that's exactly what the role of a representative is supposed to be. You are supposed to advocate for those who put you into office and advocate for those that live in your district. And that is my #1 goal if I am elected in November. I want to fight for working people. I want to develop evidence-based policy that fights and works for working families. My main 4 policy goals are to work with family farms to ensure that they're able to compete with the big corporations that continuously are coming into our communities. A lot of you are probably aware of the CAFO, or concentrated animal feeding operation, issue, particularly in Cooper County, but also down in Montauk. Cole County is also having those issues as well. As a veterinarian, I have experience working with a lot of family farmers in the area and have heard concerns raised by those individuals on how those massive factory farms are going to affect their property values, affect their land quality, affect their water quality, and so I'd like to be able to work with them in order to solve some of those issues that most impact them. As someone who was raised in the public education system since kindergarten, public education is one of my top priorities. I want to make sure that our kids are getting the best education that they possibly can. Missouri is too far down the list on a number of things. Teacher starting salary, teacher average salary, I'd like to change that so that all of our kids are career ready. Healthcare is another big one for me. As Judy mentioned, Medicaid expansion is going to be top of mind. And then finally, I am a huge advocate of unions. I come from a union family, and so I would like to see our working families be able to make the decisions together that are going to best impact their lives. So once again, I'm Carrie Chesney, running for Missouri's 50th House District.
Thank you, Carrie. Don, I believe you're next.
I am next. I'm Don Bargary, candidate for the 48th District of the Missouri House of Representatives. I'm the current presiding commissioner of Cooper County. I've been endorsed by Missouri Right to Life. I have a National Rifle Association AQ rating and have been endorsed by the Missouri Cattlemen's Association at the highest possible level. My background is 40 years as a self-employed businessman in the construction industry, mostly in residential and light commercial building, and also excavating and real estate development in central Missouri. My wife Joy and I have made Cooper County our home since we were married 44 years ago. We raised our son Chance and daughter Whitney right here in the Boonville area. During my 6 years as Cooper County's presiding commissioner, I have served on the board of directors of Unlimited Opportunities, the Missouri Regional Planning Commission, the Boone Slick Community Development Corporation, and as a member of the I-70 Task Force. The I-70 Task Force is a group of community leaders from Cooper, Boone, and Callaway counties that work to bring the new I-70 bridge to fruition. This has been probably the most important project to ensure the economic future not only in Cooper County but also central Missouri and the entire state. And working on that board, I had the opportunity to drive Vicki Hartzler across the Boonville Bridge during the flood last year, and we stopped the gator in the middle of the bridge, and all we could see was water. And I said, Vicki, this is why we need the Roachport Bridge and the infra grant to support that, because one wreck on I-70, then we're gridlocked, because that is the way around. I've been involved in beef production from my early 4-H years and still remain involved today. I intend to take my experience as a businessman, a local government leader, as a proven fiscal conservative, and a proven advocate for agriculture and a farmer to Jefferson City to help keep the state of Missouri on track for the future. Thank you to the Chamber for hosting this event, and again, I'm Don Bargary, and I would appreciate your vote for state rep in the 48th District in the August 4th Republican primary. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Adrian.
My name's Adrian Plank. I'm running for the House District, the 47th District. This is my second run. I was defeated based upon big money, lots of advertising. I did a lot of grassroots groundwork, and I think we have a policy positions that we all strive for, but I think money has a big determination on what policies get pushed. And I'll be a strong opponent of super PACs. Super PACs come into our state whether it's Democrats or Republicans, and they need to be shut down. They're allowed to purchase policy. Tell you a little bit about myself. I've been in Missouri my entire life. I'm originally from Huntsville, Missouri, the Hornets. Played sports, all of them. Small schools do that. My dad and my mother were hard workers. We were brought up poor. My dad moved us to Mobley on the notion that he would get a job at the Thomas Hill Power Plant, and he did. He sold advertising for Quicks and Crest there for about 6 months, which he failed at, which we all fail at certain things. But he eventually got that job at the power plant, which was a union job. It produced wages that allowed him to support a family of 4 boys. And I am who I am today because of my dad and his hard work. The benefits that he got, he's now retired. He has 140 acres in Randolph County. He raises Charolais cows. He's a conservative Christian. My entire family is. They're military from my grandpa, my great-grandpa, my uncles, Union railroaders, and as a representative, we're going to stand for working class people. We're going to make sure that labor can capitalize on their labor. Working folks can capitalize on their labor. Capitalism isn't just for the big corporations; it's for all of us. And if we're gonna squeeze our labor like we have been, then we're going to keep failing. Missouri has been economically stagnant for 10 years. So there has been no real economic development. So that's something I'd like to improve on and advocate for. So my name's Adrian Plank. I ran for 47th House District, and I would love to be your all's representative.
Thank you. Bill, it's your turn.
Well, thanks, Karen and the Chamber for hosting this event. My name is Bill Bedridge, and I'm the 5th generation of my family to live in Cooper County. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and why I'm seeking the post of representative. I'm going to start with my family. I've been married to Diane Ellenbrock Bedridge for 39 years. I have 2 children, a daughter Lucy Bedridge of Kansas City and Mary Castle of Jamestown, Missouri, her husband Kalen, and 2 grandchildren, Ada and Thomas. My education background, I'm a graduate of Pilot Grove High School. My college degrees, I have a AA degree from Kemper Military School and College right here in Boonville, Missouri. Bachelor's degree from Park College in Parkville. Master's degree from William Woods University in Fulton. And an educational specialist in superintendency from University of Central Missouri in Warrensburg. My education career, I worked over 36 years as a teacher and administrator in Missouri public schools. I taught in the Otterville, Blackwater, and Pilot Grove schools, primarily as a social studies instructor. I served as an administrator in Pilot Grove, Sedalia, and the northwest of Hughesville school districts. My other passion is agriculture. I live on the family farm Crestmead that's 5 miles south of Pilot Grove. We primarily produce registered shorthorn cattle that we show and exhibit. We're big supporters of the Missouri State Fair, and we're deeply honored in 1998 when the Missouri State Fair dedicated the beef show to our family. Why do I want this job as a representative? I've been asked. Well, the answer to me is simple. I am a people person. I am anxious to meet the people in the coming weeks of the 48th District to see what issues, what drives them, what I can do down in Jeff City to help these people. I want to listen. I want to get those things that bond us together, for I know this. When we work together in issues, we are a far better place. I don't think like those things that divide us. I can tell you this, in the short time I've been out there, people are fed up with partisan politics. They're fed up with the partisan divide that exists state and nationally. They want people to go to Jeff City to work for them. And that is what I pledge to do. I would certainly appreciate your support, your votes, and I would be beyond honored to serve as a representative for the 48th District. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Chuck, it's your turn. I think you're also going to read for another candidate.
Yes,
Let's do yours now, and then we'll do Tim's, and then we'll come back to hers. Is
that'd be,
that
yeah,
okay?
fine. Well, good evening. My name's Chuck Basie. I'm the incumbent state representative for the 47th District. I'm running for my 4th and final term. I want to thank the Chamber for hosting this event tonight. And it is an understatement to say it is a true honor to serve the state of Missouri in this capacity. I live in rural Boone County. I've been out there for about 27 years. We've lived in this area since the mid-'80s, and we love it here. I'm a husband of 38 years to my beautiful wife, Rhonda. I'm also a father of 3 kids, and grandfather of 5 granddaughters and 1 grandson. Retired from the Federal Aviation Administration with a total of 31 years in federal government, including my 4 years in the United States Marine Corps. I come from a family full of veterans. My father served the United States Navy for 42 years, and my brother served in the United States Army, and my youngest son, is currently in the United States Air Force. He is a senior master sergeant, and he is presently on his 4th deployment overseas. He's in Saudi Arabia right now. This September, he'll be starting his 19th year in the United States Air Force. Very proud of that young man. I'm a graduate of the University of Missouri with a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture. And in the legislature, I serve on 3 committees: the Elementary Secondary Education Committee, the Veterans Committee, and the General Laws Committee. And presently, I serve as the chair of the Elementary and Secondary Education Committee. I'm going to continue to advocate, as I have the past 6 years, for our farmers. I'm going to create or do everything I can to create educational opportunities for our children. They need school choice. I'm not an enemy of public schools, but our children and their parents need more educational choice in Missouri. I'm going to continue to advocate for good paying jobs in the state, keep our taxes low. I'm a proud, staunch supporter of our first responders. They're under a huge amount of pressure right now, and we need to do better and not defund our police. We need to defend our police. As a matter of fact, I intend to advocate for more funding for our first responders, especially our law enforcement community. I'm going to continue to advocate for our children with developmental disabilities and our veterans. And I'm a proud member of the Missouri Cattlemen Association, the Mizzou Alumni Association, the Columbia Pachyderm Club, the Marine Corps League in Columbia, Detachment 828, and I'm a proud National Rifle Association Life Endowment member. And I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Chuck. Tim, it's your turn.
Okay. Well, first, thank you, Chamber, for hosting this. My name is Tim Taylor, and I'm running for representative for the 48th District. I grew up here in Boonville, and graduated from high school in 1984. Went to work for a couple of years in construction after that while I waited to get into the United States Air Force. I entered there and served 4 years, 3 months, and 2 days. It was the time of the first Gulf War, so they decided I needed to stay in a little bit longer. I graduated from the Air Force Security Police Academy, and I excelled in the security forces. After an honorable discharge, I returned back here to Central Missouri and decided to make this my home. I returned to the construction industry while working for a professional remodeler. I also returned at that time to something I was doing prior, and that was volunteering with the Boonville Fire Department here in town. A few months after returning home, I had the fortunate opportunity to meet the woman that was going to become my wife. Dawn and I married in the fall of '93, and it's been 27 years of the best years of my life. In 1997, I was hired by the Columbia Fire Department. I went to work there, and in 2002, we decided to open Taylor's Bake Shop here in Boonville. That was one of my wife's dreams, and I was happy to work on that with her. And then the biggest thing for us, really, in 2005, we were blessed to have a son. Carter was born.
Today, we live on our farm near Speed. We raise cattle and we manage the land for wildlife. After 18 years in business, the bakery is stronger than ever. And I have now, as of last year, retired from the Columbia Fire Department. You may know me as a kid that grew up here in Boonville. You may know me from the Cooper County Fair Board or the University Extension Council. Perhaps you know me with my involvement in 4-H, and particularly the shooting sports in 4-H. Quite possibly, you just simply know me as Dawn's husband or Carter's dad. If you don't know me, I look forward to meeting you in the future. I've always been a conservative and a Republican. I'm pro-life and have the endorsement of Missouri Right to Life. I'm a life member of the NRA, and I'm a trained firearms instructor with that organization. I received their highest rating that I could receive, and I live by the words, shall not be infringed. I bring to this position years of experience with working with people from all walks of life, each with their own story to tell. And I've spent my entire life in the service of others, and if given opportunity, I will use those years of experience to represent us all in Jefferson City. Thank you.
And now, Chuck, if you would read the statement you have from Sarah Walsh.
Okay, thank you. This is from Sarah, speaking for her. It is my it is my distinct honor to represent the citizens of Missouri's 50th District who reside in Cooper County. Working together, we have accomplished much in the past 3 years, and I look forward to continuing to serve on your behalf in the next session of the General Assembly. I am proud to share that over the past 3 years, because of my solid voting record, I have been endorsed by the Missouri Chamber of Commerce, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, the NRA, Missouri Right to Life, Missouri Cattlemen's Association, and others. These member organizations reflect a broad spectrum of key issues and concerns shared by residents of Cooper County and the rest of my district. Small and large businesses in Cooper County and throughout the great state of Missouri are the economic backbone of our economy. As we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic, it is these job creators who will restore our confidence and lift us to higher prosperity and brighter futures. I stand with the Boonville Chamber of Commerce, its members, and the citizens of this community to champion efforts to bring about increased growth and successes. Signed, State Representative Sarah Walsh.
Thank you very much. We'll go through a few questions now and address them to all of you. I think most of these questions will impact one way or another each one of the districts. Let's start with, what is the number one challenge facing your district in 2021, and what plans do you have to resolve its issues? And it looks like, Don, that you're first.
I am. So I see the number one challenge for the whole state of Missouri is our transportation infrastructure. It's been on the ballot a couple of times to raise taxes to help with the infrastructure. It has failed. You know, our highways are getting deteriorated, more so in the rural areas. Of course, I-70 right here in this area is our lifeline. We're in the middle of the state. The only way to get here is by highway. But when you branch out away from that, we're fairly blessed with north-south arteries in the district. But our secondary roads, our lettered routes, our double-lettered routes, they're failing, and we need to work on that. We need to figure out how a way to fund it.
Thank you, Don. Chuck, I believe you're number two here.
Okay, thank you. You know, there's many issues that are facing the state right now that are of grave importance, but aside from the COVID-19 situation, I think the biggest challenge we have, as I mentioned previously, is giving our children better opportunities for a good education. As I said, I'm not against public education. I'm a product of public ed. My wife currently works for the school district in Columbia, Missouri. My entire family has been through public schools, as my grandchildren are all right now. But we have got to give them better opportunities in the future. And whether that's public education, private education, parochial schools, or homeschoolers, we have got to do better, and I intend to make that happen in my next term if possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Tim?
So, I think the number one challenge, it actually is coming up sooner than that, but I'm gonna go back to that too, the school. The biggest thing we have here is, I have a 15-year-old son that's in high school, and the challenges we've been going through to get him to continue his education have been not insurmountable, but nearly that. So 2021, we're gonna have to work on this broadband in the rural areas. It's not a Democrat thing, it's not a Republican thing. It's a we need it thing, so we've got to get it happen. We've got to get it going. And I'm not exactly sure how to do that. There are ways to make it happen. We're just gonna have to work together and do it. So, thank you.
Adrian?
Broadband is, you're right, it's not a partisan issue. In order for our rural communities to be successful when it comes to education, when it comes to economics, our farmers can be more competitive with high-speed internet. Obviously, infrastructure as far as our roads. School funding has been cut by $400 million a year. The new formula that they keep fully funded, which cut $400 million per year from our education system. Cut transportation, $300 million, that's our school buses. Our schools are down to 4 days a week. Not necessarily a bad thing, but they're doing it because they don't have any money. They're passing taxes in their local communities in order to make up that difference. So we've given tax breaks to the big boys. It was putting all the tax burden on us. So we need to concentrate on lowering taxes for working families and small businesses. And I can go on and on, but yes, infrastructure.
Thank you, Adrian. Karen?
I actually completely agree with Adrian, but I'll go a different route. So one of the biggest issues facing the district, the 50th district, is our family farms and how they can compete with big corporations coming into Missouri. If you didn't know, Missouri State has some of the most lax agricultural regulations in the country, which makes it very, very enticing for big corporations, and not necessarily Missouri corporations, international corporations, to come in and artificially lower prices and buy up land that has been owned by Missourians for generations. We need to figure out ways to make family farms able to compete with these large organizations so that Missourians are making that money and keeping it in our communities, keeping it in our rural towns, and making sure that they're able to thrive in the coming years.
Very good. And then Bill?
Well, being in education for so long, that is going to be at the forefront. I'm a little different perspective. Back in 1976, when I graduated, I left 4 years of school with about $1,200 worth of student debt. My daughter graduated in 2005 from law school, and I don't even think that paid the interest on the first year. We have to look at something that is going to give our children the ability to go and seek a higher education without mortgaging their future. There is absolutely no reason that college costs are going to burden these people for years down the road. They cannot live the American dream. They can't buy the homes. They can't buy the things they need because they're straddled with student debt. I'll shift real quickly. I got to put a plug in. The rural infrastructure is amazing. I serve on the electric board cooperative down at Tipton and Como. We have a very successful broadband company. We just celebrated our 20,000th customer. It is important. Thank you.
All right. Have you put the numbers around?
giving a student about that?
$170,000 worth.
It's your intelligence.
I just look at the number and cry every so often.
I got a 6. My grade point's going up.
Which one?
Number 3.
There's 2 number 3s in there. This one? Okay. So I think this question, with the understanding that something maybe could change in the next 30 days, but we're closing in on the start of school. So please share your opinion regarding the return of school children to their classrooms this fall in light of the COVID-infected numbers. And looks like, Carrie, you're the first one on this.
I think that's a really difficult question to answer now. I think we should have started talking about this and making plans months ago, when students were let out of school back in March. I think at this point, we've really been left with no other choice but to bring students back to school, which is incredibly dangerous given how infectious COVID actually is. We should have told teachers to start formulating online lesson plans for students. We should have started formulating ways to bring broadband to more rural communities so that more children have access to online education. And this all should have been done months ago. But at this point, while it's very dangerous, the best thing we can do is make sure that we're social distancing, make sure that children, teachers, staff have as much safety and precaution as possible, and follow CDC and WHO guidelines.
Thank you. Chuck?
Yeah, it's a very good question and something that's certainly timely. I believe that should be done on a local level. It should be a decision made by each individual school board and school administrators, teachers, parents. But I would like to see the kids get back into a learning environment where they're in person. I think that's very much needed, but you know, the virus, things change. It seems like it changes every day on this. New stuff comes out, and I think the kids need to be back in schools, and there's ways to do it smartly. The distancing requirement can be met. You know, there's safety precautions that can be taken, and one tidbit of information that I do have, my wife works for a very large middle school. They polled the parents in that population. 90% of the parents out of 600 that replied want their kids back in school. But you won't hear that from the teacher unions. They're going to fight that tooth and nail, I guarantee it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Bill?
We're in a tough spot, and when I think of tough spots over the year in education, this doesn't correlate, but I think of the day when you look outside and the sleet and the ice and the bad weather's looming, and you think, you know, do I shut it down or do I send kids to school? And what every administrator that I've talked to over the years, they all say, we want to err on the side of safety. And I think in this situation, If there is a way to err, it should be on the side of safety. We need the science. We need ways to safely get our kids back. I do believe, and the teachers and administrators I've visited with, they are anxious. Their classrooms are there. That's where they want to be. But maybe we could hire an extra healthcare professional, maybe another school nurse in each building, maybe someone to help administer and make sure we could do this in a safe manner. Remember, we always in the past have erred on the side of safety.
Thank you, Bill. Tim?
So I firmly believe that the kids need to be back in school. I think they're the most affected by not going back to school. I know the teachers, we have a lot of teachers that come in the bakery. I know they all want to get back to school. It's imperative that we get back to school. I'm concerned about putting the teachers in the position of having to keep 6-year-old or 7-year-old kids social distancing, or keep them socially distanced. That's going to be a tough thing to do, and I hate to see that we're going to put that pressure on them. But we've got to get back to school, no question about it, in my opinion.
Thank you, Tim. Don?
So this is an issue that has come through our county commissioner's office because we have CARES Act funding to be distributed, and we called all of our school superintendents together about a week or 10 days ago. The other two commissioners attended that meeting because I had a prior meeting to attend. But there's a lot of ideas out there. I agree with Chuck that it needs to be each individual school district's decision. But there's a lot of ideas. It goes from Chromebooks in case it goes to online learning, to separate entrances at the schools to bring kids in to screen them, or if they have a kid that is sick, they can isolate them from the other kids. There's a lot of ideas. I think the school superintendents are doing a great job in planning, and I believe that school will start, and I believe the schools are going to be ready.
And Andrew?
Well, I think the sentiment is, my goodness, it's going to be a tough one. Obviously, there's things that I do as a union carpenter that works at the hospital quite often. You know, you take temperatures and make sure you got your mask on. And kids are a lot different. They can be hard to handle. And it's going to be a tough situation for the teachers. Again, funding's important for that. I find it kind of humorous that we're talking about local control when we had seen it go by the wayside when it comes to health and other issues. But I do think it is up to the schools. I do think that it's important that our kids are there. It's going to be tricky. I understand that. But there are safety precautions that we can do. Social distance, like you said, is going to be hard to do with even the younger students. But I have faith in our teachers. And I think we're going to come through this. It may be longer than we want it. We'll get through it.
Instead of passing out numbers for this next one, let me just pick an order for it. In fact, I might do it for the next two. So this question is going to sound like it might be more oriented toward, what are you guys running for? Is it 50?
48.
48, okay. It may sound like it might be more Boonville or Cooper County oriented, but actually rural hospitals impact the whole state of Missouri. So I think everybody's input on this would be good. So I'll let the three guys representing 48 go first. And you know, you guys are all big men. One of y'all just jump in there and go first, and one of you go second, go third, however you want to do it. If not, I'll pick it. But so here's the question, and it's a little bit of a long one. So rural hospitals, such as the former Cooper County Memorial Hospital, are closing, and the local hospital closing has left Boonville area residents without access to convenient medical and emergency care. Talks have been ongoing between MU Healthcare and concerned city, county, and community representatives to restore a fully functional medical facility to Cooper County as soon as possible. How would you see your role as an elected representative in assisting these entities? Would you propose legislation that might be needed to allow such a facility to have either full-time emergency services and/or possibly 4 beds to serve as a micro hospital if it takes legislation to accomplish that? Is that too long of a question? Would you like me to read it again? All right, Bill, you go first then.
Well, Ken, again, I can remember back in the, back in the 60s when we did, as a county, go together and create Cooper County Memorial Hospital. Some of us out there I know remember the old St. Joseph Hospital. So we grew up with the thought that healthcare was going to be a part of this county. It was shocking news to us when the day finally came. I serve on the Cooper County Ambulance Board, and we worked tooth and nail trying to make sure that our relationship with the hospital could be maintained. It was our adamant hope that the hospital could make it. Unfortunately, for a variety of reasons, some of it's our proximity to other affordable health care. But yes, in answer to your question, given a brief go-around, I would like to see some type of legislative, some type of incentives where that facility, it's a quality facility, the stuff is there, the infrastructure's there, and the needs and the people of Cooper County, I think it would be great to get that back up and running.
Thank you. Tim, you want to just go next?
Sure, I'll go next. I'm not sure what legislation would be available, but absolutely we need something. Maybe not on such a large scale, but we've got to have something that's close by. My mother-in-law is in assisted living right now, and there's a lot of issues with trying to get doctors or getting her to a facility to see the doctor she needs. And then we run onto the problem of if she goes out, then she has to go back in and be locked down for 2 weeks. So we've got to have something here. I know there's a lot of work that's been done to get us there with MU coming over and doing some things. So I would be in favor of it if it was available legislative-wise.
So this is a topic I'm fairly familiar with because I'm in a small working group that's working with the University of Missouri trying to bring the highest level of health care that is financially feasible to this community. There is a legislative change that really needs to be looked at. Other states allow standalone emergency rooms. The state of Missouri does not. You have to have an in-bed facility. If being our proximity to Columbia, if we just had a standalone emergency room here that would stabilize a patient to move them onto a trauma center or a cardiac center or whatever, but that is a legislative change that I intend to pursue.
Maybe we'll come on around this way if that's okay with you guys. So Chuck?
Yeah, yeah, I'd be very open to if legislation is needed. I wasn't aware of that, Donnie, that that is a problem. But you know, the hospital closed here in Boonville, it was not related to Medicaid expansion, not at all. I think it was a problem with the facility itself. It was not being maintained. That's my understanding. You know, the small rural hospitals are struggling, no doubt about that. But, you know, it's more than just the Medicaid issue that's a problem. So the rural communities are getting dwindling. The kids aren't staying in those communities. I look at some of the small areas that I represent. Higbee, for example, has shrunk in size. Fayette's kind of diminished a little bit. They used to have a hospital in Fayette years ago. So whatever we can do on a state level, I'd be happy to support legislation. But it's unfortunate that happened here in Cooper County, but I'm glad the University of Missouri is stepping up and trying to do something about that.
Our rural communities are diminishing. We have one of the worst infant mortality rates, third world country style. We have, which is crazy that we're not even trying to address that. Medicaid expansion would have definitely helped this hospital stay open. They couldn't maintain it because they didn't have the funds to maintain it. They didn't serve enough people. Well, they're not going to serve enough people. There's not a lot of people. but they need it. There's people from Marceline that have come to here. I know them. So this facility closing is a huge impact to the rural communities and kids and families and the older generation especially, and we do need to make sure we expand Medicaid. That would have helped them stay open.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just to echo what Adrian said, expanding Medicaid would be huge in ensuring that a facility like the Boonville Hospital stayed open. There's something in healthcare called the golden hour, and it essentially is that first hour after a traumatic incident, whether that be a heart attack, a stroke, some sort of trauma, where if you can get to a medical facility, if you can get to an emergency room and be stabilized, you have a much higher chance of survival than otherwise. And taking away a very vital hospital in Boonville puts a lot of our rural communities at risk because they might not be within an hour of a healthcare facility anymore. And so I honestly, as a representative, would be very open to changing our laws to have a standalone emergency room here in Boonville, but I'd love to see Medicaid expanded so that we can reinitiate having a full-fledged hospital here for not only the people in Boonville, but of course our rural communities.
So we'll do one more question with you folks, and I think on this one, maybe we'll start with Carrie and just go around this way. That would be a kind of out of an order we've done, I think. Describe the experience you gained working on an issue or problem within your district over the past few years. Carrie, you're first.
Sure. So as someone who is running for the first time for public office, I don't have a lot of experience in that arena. However, I have worked in advocacy on a number of different issues. I was a member of the Public Transit Commission for the City of Columbia for a year, as well as the Energy and Environment Commission for 2 years, or 2.5 years. I served as vice chair. And a number of different issues that we have looked at have directly impacted Boone County as well as Montauk County, Cooper County, Cole County. One of those was Climate Action and Adaptation Plan, which directly impacts wind and solar energy. So we actively went out, talked to our rural communities, and tried to develop plans that would accommodate those that own that land while also moving our energy towards a more renewable way to power our communities.
Thank you, Carrie. Bill?
Well, I'm going to return to a familiar theme, education. And we tend to think of education in a K-12 setting. I was extremely happy as an administrator to write the preschool grant to get kids in the school setting at a much earlier age down at Palo Grove. We established the first preschool there. We were able to get kids there, get them acclimated. They didn't have access to other quality, affordable childcare. Also in Sedalia, as I worked there, it was so vitally important. I went through and visited this last school I was at had a 95% free and reduced, and I was in the homes and the projects over in Sedalia looking at those kiddos and seeing what kind of help and how we could get things, and we all agree, everybody sitting here has talked about education, how crucial it is, but if we don't start a little earlier, some of it's gone for naught, and that's something that I'm proud that I have advocated for.
This past spring, I was a member of the MU Extension Council here in Cooper County, and we worked on making a tax district to help fund our Extension Council here locally. Now that tax failed, and that's okay. So I'm in a big favor of taxes being local because we can control them and not lose sight of them when they get out past us. So I hope to work with those folks again in the future. We'll try it again in another day and see if times are better and things can work out. So MU teaches people how to do things. It's not a handout. It teaches you how to do stand on your own 2 feet.
So in the past couple of years, Cooper County has been the epicenter of the stacking of regulations on some agricultural activities. I testified at the Senate hearing last year in favor of Senate Bill 391 that prohibited county commissions and county health boards from invoking regulations that were more stringent than the state and federal regulations that are already in place. I'm a believer that we need to allow our farmers to produce. There's a difference between living on a farm and making a living on a farm. The grain that's raised here goes to feed animals, and so the price of grain diminishes when those animal feeding operations are not allowed, and so I worked strongly on that last year.
Great, great question. I'm glad it was asked. One of the last things that I ever thought I'd get behind as a state legislator was children with developmental disabilities. And I was approached by a couple of mothers in December of 2016 and asked to get behind this effort. Give a little history. In 2010, the state legislature passed an autism mandate, insurance autism mandate, and they left all the other developmental disabilities out of that. So these mothers had children that had afflictions outside of autism, and thanks to help from some key legislators, senators, including Senator Rowden, I was able to get legislation passed that helps thousands of Missouri kids get therapies they need to be successful in life. And that is one thing that I will always be very, very proud of, and I'm glad that that was made possible through the effort of a lot of people. Thank you.
Kudos, that's a great accomplishment. Obviously, not being a representative, my accomplishments in the community my most recent would have been helping the folks out at Roachport do sandbag with the flood. John Zonka, the mayor, put in a ton of work. It was pretty scary for a lot of people in that community, so we did a lot of sandbagging. The community was great. Just all the volunteers that came in and helped, and I've always been a person who felt like if there was a need and there's a way that I can meet it, it's usually the labor because I don't have the money. Then I go out and I put in the time, and that does a lot. I didn't go there for a photo op like a lot of politicians did. I went to help, and I think if we can do that to all our communities, we'll have better communities.
I thank each and every one of you for being here tonight, for your discussions and opinions. Wish each of you good luck, and wish we had more time. Your answers have been so good, I'd love to ask you more questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I was a little outnumbered, but it was okay.
Jamie, let's put them up. First we'll draw for is four.
The old ones?
Earl.
Letter B.
Whoops. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We can for sure recycle it now.
All right.
Flip top.
Here you go. Over, Laura.
Thank you. I'm 3. Okay.
Well, okay, we have the public administrator candidates here. It's a highly contested race, it looks like, 4 people running. Glad to have each of you here tonight. The first thing we'll do is the introductory statements. The order will be Wendy, Laura, Earl, and Paula. So, Wendy, have at it.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you to the Chamber for hosting this event, and thank you also to those of you taking time to view this event at home. My name is Wendy Wooldridge. I have spent my entire life in Cooper County, except for the years that I left to further my education and gain legal experience. I was raised here, the daughter of Sharon Wentleton Wooldridge and the late Paul Wooldridge. After graduating from Boonville High School, I attended the University of Missouri-Columbia, where I obtained my undergraduate and law degrees. I returned home in 1997 to join my father in his legal practice. I was lucky enough to work with him until his death in 2005. Since that time, I have continued to practice in the same office, now with my brother, Brad Wooldridge. I became familiar with the position of public administrator when I was a child, as the law office of Wooldridge & Wooldridge has historically assisted the Cooper County Public Administrator with legal representation, with my father assisting past public administrators, Louis Topol, Dick Casanova, and Wade Davis. Although my introduction to the job as a child started with joining Dad at visits to the local care facilities, later pooling and organizing legal files. Following Dad's death, I took over the actual legal work and assisted then serving public administrator Wade Davis. When Wade retired and Stephanie Young took over the office in 2009, I handled the transfer of many of the estates from Wade to Stephanie. When she retired, I handled a transfer of most of the estates from Stephanie to Julie, our current public administrator, and have continued to work with Julie Dorr. As of the end of last year, the Cooper County Public Administrator had 58 open estates or cases. I am now attorney for or have completed legal work in 42 of those estates. While nothing precludes me from continuing the practice of law, my goal is to serve as a full-time public administrator and use my legal knowledge and skills in that position for the benefit of the individuals and the estate served and the benefit of Cooper County. Given my knowledge and experience and my understanding of the job responsibilities, I am in a better position than any other candidate to take over the duties of public administrator on January the 1st. I have the support and endorsement of the current public administrator, Julie Dorr. I also have the support of former public administrator, Stephanie Young, which is evidenced by the fact that Stephanie is serving as my campaign treasurer. I'm asking for your support and vote November 3rd, because I am the most qualified candidate for Cooper County Public Administrator, and I would appreciate the opportunity to serve in that position. Thank you.
Wendy, thank you. Laura, it's your turn.
Good evening. I'm Laura Gramlich. I'm a Boonville resident lifelong.
I married my high school sweetheart 25 years ago. We're celebrating that. We have one daughter here. I too attended Boonville High School and Kemper Military School and College, junior college. I do not have a degree from there, but I gained a lot of valuable experience from there. I've been a licensed pharmacy technician and have a total of 25 years of pharmacy experience. I've served as bookkeeper for the last 12 years at Medical Arts Pharmacy, and I've worked closely with the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare and independent insurance programs. I'm proficient in Medicare Parts A, B, C, D, and F, and have saved hundreds of citizens of Cooper County thousands of dollars with this knowledge over this time period. I've worked with agencies like the Children with Special Health Care Needs, hospice, home health care agencies, multiple public administrators all over the states, various nursing homes, independent living homes, group homes, and treatment facilities. I'm certified in fraud, waste, and abuse prevention and HIPAA privacy policies, and bring a record of integrity, experience, and service to ensure responsible quality care for our most valuable citizens in the least restrictive way. I have owned a very successful massage therapy business for over 15 years and am a licensed massage therapist. The responsibility of owning and running a business lends to being able to budget and run the office of public administrator full-time. I have been active in my community while serving on the Heritage Days Planning Committee for 15 years, a member of Boonville's Women's Club, Kemper Alumni Association, of which I am currently the vice president. I'm on the Chamber Board of Directors and am past president and currently serve as vice president, and am a member of the American Massage Therapy Association. I'm an active member of St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church and was a youth friendship group leader for 7 years there. I do have a lot of experience in the medical field. I think that's a very important aspect when you're dealing with people who have disabilities of some kind or who are on the caseload of the public administrator. I'm a very compassionate person, and I think that is also an important quality that is going to help with this position, and I'd love to have your support on August 4th if you think the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Earl, do you have a statement for us?
Thank you, Ken and Karen and the Boonville Chamber of Commerce for having us here to speak tonight. My name is Earl Holler, and I want to be your next Cooper County Public Administrator. My wife Carmen and I have Carmen of 33 years, and I have 3 children, and we have 4 grandchildren. I'm a member of too many organizations to list tonight because due to the time constraints. But I've been very active in the community over the years, and I've been a school board member for 15 years. But to be a public administrator, you have to be a decision maker and be able to make snap decisions. I have had that experience through my 33 years of management and auditing experience. I was manager of the Pilot Grove Co-op for 27 years and wrote a budget every year, the last several years, for an operation close to $40 million. Prior to the 27 years I was manager of the co-op, I was a manager for Helmerich Farm Supply for 3 years, and then prior to that I was on the road for 3 years with the Missouri Department of Agriculture Grain Regulatory Services auditor. And with the jobs that I had comes 33 years of governmental experience with agencies such as FDA, Soil and Water, USDA, EPA, Department of Transportation, DNR, Homeland Security, FSA, and OSHA. This job also requires you to be on call 24/7, and with that experience that I've had, grain elevators are open 7 days a week, approximately 6 months out of the year, planting and harvest season. This job also requires a person to have a lot of compassion for others. My compassion for others has driven me to organize benefits for those who may need financial assistance for medical bills, theft, loss of a home due to fire. I have organized at least 30 benefits for individuals needing help over the past 40 years. Another area that I have shared compassion for others is through teaching youth group for 25 years. I took youth groups all over the country on mission trips to Indian reservations, hurricane relief. Savannah, Georgia, we went down there to build homes, work on homes for the elderly. and for any of those that needed help. I've also taken 2 mission trips to Africa to build homes for Habitat for Humanity. The last trip I took my youngest son when he was just turned 16. For the last 5 years, I have started serving meals for the entire meal period for the Open Bible Church during their Thanksgiving free dinner to those in need. With my extensive management experience and work ethic, I believe I would be an excellent candidate for the Public Administrator's Office. I want this position because I care about people. I look forward to being the voice for those in need, and I will always be available when I am needed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Earl. Paula, would like to make a statement?
Good evening. My name is Paula Sims, and I want to be your next public administrator for Cooper County. On Saturday, I was talking with a friend, and we were talking about the Pilot Grove Parade, and it was such a hot, humid day. And she asked me if I walked the parade. And I said, yeah, I did. And she goes, you know, I've heard if you want it, you walk it. And I feel for me, I have walked in this position pretty much since my son Christian was born on April 22nd, 1999. I have 21 years of experience, both personal and professional. With Christian, when we started our journey, I didn't know where we would end up or that we would be where we are today. Let's go back. I was told when I started this also that I would do better if I were divorced and unemployed. And at that time, I thought, you know, those are not options for me. However, divorce came, and I became a single mother, and I chose to work. Working was very important for me. This whole time, though, I have needed assistance. So Christian, I had to apply for Medicaid, and then Social Security, I needed the extra assistance. So month after month, year after year, I had to turn in monthly documentation, yearly documentation to prove that my son was qualified for these services. So jump ahead to when he turned 18. Because he is medically fragile, he's globally developmentally delayed, and he needs 100% care, someone needed to become his guardian. Most 18-year-olds are adults. They become their own responsible party. He, however, is not able to do that. So I became conservator of his estate, and I'm also sharing co-guardianship with his father. We have to make tough decisions where Christian is concerned, and we've had to do that throughout all of his life. I also have this experience that I share with what I currently do. I am currently a case manager for the Cooper County Board of Sheltered Services. We work with individuals with developmental disabilities who also have some mental health issues. A lot of my individuals do have the public administrator as their guardian and conservator, so I work with them on a weekly or monthly basis, yearly basis. We work on hundreds of thousands of dollars of budgets every month to make sure that they receive the services that they need and that the funds are not misappropriated. I enjoy what I do. It is my passion. I get that from my son Christian, and I look forward to becoming the next public administrator for Cooper County.
Thank you very much. So now we'll do some questions. Our first question is, what are the 3 most important duties of the office that you seek to fill? The order of this will be Wendy, Earl, Laura, and Paula.
I think the most important responsibility that you have as public administrator is advocating for individuals who have been declared incapacitated or disabled. And I have a history in advocacy. That is what I have been doing since I obtained my law degree. There is also a requirement to timely file all necessary reports, whether it be with the court that when they are due, or if it is with an insurance company, Medicaid, or with other benefits. And it is also necessary that the public administrator continually assess the needs of the individual and provide the care and support. And that is largely done through the coordinating and monitoring of services. So in when you look at those three altogether, in doing that, you ultimately are making the best decisions and implementing those for the individuals that you serve.
Thank you, Wendy. Earl, it's your turn.
I think the most important thing you could possibly do is to be there when that phone rings and answer that phone. You need to be available 24/7 so that when that person or that facility where that person is residing at has a question, or then the administrator has to give an answer for, that you're available. So you got to answer that phone call, number one. Then make sure too, the person the clients that you have, that you visit them and you take care of, you keep making sure that they're getting the care that they need and they're properly placed in a location that they're getting the care that they need. That would be number two. And then three, don't give up. I think it's important that you are on a first name basis with all your clients. That's what I believe.
Thank you, Earl. Laura?
I think one of the main thing is to develop a relationship with each and individual client. It's that relationship that is going to make a difference to know, are they struggling and need more help? Are they maintaining their quality of life, or what's going on with them? I think for individuals who are in facilities, that it's important to be able to also have a relationship with the line staff to make sure those clients' needs are met that way too. And then the third thing is to make sure everything's done in a timely manner.
Very good, thank you. And Paula?
I think the availability is huge. There have been people that I've spoken with that do have troubles reaching the public administrator in times of needs. So being available, this is not a 9-to-5 job. This is a 24/7 position, 365 days a year. So being available is very important. And with my current position, I carry my phone with me at all times. I have my computer with me at all times. So I have access to information that is needed. I file their budgets to ensure that they're receiving the services that they need in a timely basis. I also ensure that I see my clients face-to-face as needed, because when you don't see your clients face-to-face, that is when huge, huge problems can occur and death can happen.
Thank you for those answers. Have another question? I think we'll start with this question with Earl and just come around this way. That's an order we haven't been in. And the question is, how would you minimize administrative costs for persons under your supervision and maximize the funds available for that person's benefit? I'll read that again if I did that too fast.
Well, yeah, if you read it one more time.
You bet.
Yeah.
I didn't see anybody go, oh yeah. How would you minimize administrative costs for persons under your supervision and maximize the funds available for that person's benefits? Minimize costs, maximize funds.
Yeah, I got the question. I'm trying to come up with an answer, Ken.
Aren't you glad I picked you first?
Yeah. So I think the only way you can minimize cost, of course, is to find comparable places or services for that individual's needs at a lower cost. I feel like, maybe. Or see if there's any other supplemental financial assistance out there for that person that has that particular person. And at the same time, when you minimize cost, then you're maximizing your cash, your funds available.
If you want to minimize the administrative cost, elect me the next public administrator of Cooper County. I have a law degree. I can provide the legal services to the individuals currently served by the public administrator at no additional cost to those individuals or to the estates. that would then free up funds for them to use for other needs. Elect me.
To minimize cost, again, with personal experience that I have, I am familiar with the day-to-day activities, the monthly and annual reporting, the travel that is required by the public administrators. So I feel that way the administrative costs would be minimized. As far as maximizing resources, I have access to resources. I work with the Department of Mental Health, the Department of Developmental Disabilities, the Department of Health and Senior Services. I also have worked with attorneys, law enforcement agencies, the various court systems, also with Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security, so I have access to those as well. That would help.
A way to minimize would be to review each individual client's needs to find out if there's things that they have in their budget that maybe could be reviewed to see if it could be cut out or find other funding sources. A way to maximize funds would be, again, to review things to make sure that as far as medical expenses, if there are ways to maximize those, as I've done with other people throughout the county, and just make sure through my fraud, waste, and abuse training that those are not being, those individuals are not being taken advantage of in any other areas.
Thank you very much. We're ready for question number 3. I think we'll start with Laura and go around this way. That's another order we haven't done. And this question is, have you made plans to change any office operations or procedures to maximize efficiencies if elected? If so, what types of changes do you propose? That would be in the office.
Okay, if I'm elected, I will not change anything in the office at least for 6 months. I think it takes a little while to get in there, to get your feet on the ground, to see what's working and what's working well and what's not working. I think Julie Dorr has done an incredible job from everything I've ever heard of running her office, and I think it would be a disservice to her to come in and change anything if she's got that office running well.
I agree. It does take some time to get in and get situated in that position. As far as, it would just be difficult to change something when you go in and somebody has done something a certain way. You have to go in, you have to get used to the individuals that you're serving. And then from that point, you decide if you can change something, and if you can, it will, and if you can't, then you continue on and it will be just fine.
And if I understand the question, it was whether you would change the administration of the office, or, I'm sorry, if you could clarify for me.
Okay. Well, these questions were kind of given to us, but I think you can interpret this any way you want. But it's, have you made plans to change office operations or procedures to maximize efficiencies if elected? And if so, what types of changes do you propose?
Operations and the efficiency of the office, I think actually there has been a lot of changes that have taken place just within the recent months, given the COVID-19 and pandemic situation, because there's some additional tools that have been implemented in the office. So I don't know that there's any further changes that I would do there. I would probably, compared to Julie's recent actions, is spend more time in the office. For reasons personal to Julie, she has been doing more working from home, and I would certainly want to be in the office more frequently if I were not out personally visiting individuals, assuming that was permitted at the various care facilities.
Oh, I think you would have to be there in the office first to find out what's broken before you can fix it or improve it or make it more efficient. So not having knowledge of being there, I think a person would have to be there for a period of time before you could improve, make an improvement on any efficiency.
Okay. I'll have one last question for you. I kind of want to note I was given 7 questions to choose from. It was kind of ironic in your opening statements and probably the first question. You guys answered a whole bunch of this stuff already, so I don't want to be real repetitive. I'll ask this last question. I think we'll start with Paula and come around this way. So for each of you, what motivated you to run for Cooper County Public Administrator at this time?
My son, Christian. To be somebody and to advocate for somebody who has no voice. He cannot speak for himself. However, he does have his own ways of letting you know what he likes and what he doesn't like. Also, the individuals that I serve, a lot of them do have the public administrator as their guardian and conservator because family is not able to do it for one reason or another. And so when I listen to my individuals, all they want is somebody to be there for them, to hear them, to be their voice, and to care for them. So my son and my individuals I serve.
My father has inspired me. He passed away 9 years ago this month. He was dedicated to service and serving his community. He had his own personal struggles through life, being disabled with polio as a young child. Also, my customers that I serve at the pharmacy, I take great pride every time I can save them money or help them out of a situation that's costing them money. So that's kind of my motivation.
Wade Davis shared a church pew at the Nelson Memorial United Methodist Church with my family for years until he went to Hartman Village. So I've been a member of that church for 33 years. And Wade Davis was the inspiration. And in addition to that, my roommate from college is the public administrator in St. Clair County, Missouri, which the county seat's Osceola. So he's from Appleton City. They were south of Clinton. So he was kind of an inspiration for that, for me to look at public administration.
I have been familiar with the position of public administrator, as I mentioned in my opening statement, as a child. And I have indirectly served the individuals by assisting the public administrator with the legal work. I would now like the opportunity to directly help and interact with them by becoming the next public administrator of Cooper County. And I figured this was the perfect opportunity. Julie was not running again. She encouraged me and has endorsed me in my run. And I also got the support encouragement from Stephanie Young, who I worked with for 8 years when she was public administrator. All of the pieces from my early visits to at what that time was Rest Haven and Colonial Gardens to these various facilities to up to this present day came together, and I said, now is the time, and I'm asking Cooper County to vote for me.
Thank all 4 of you for being here tonight, for your answers, and for your interest in this office, and wish each of you all good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we gonna leave this seat for the next one?
Eastern District candidates want to come on up.
Eastern and Western, go ahead, put them together.
Oh, Eastern and Western,
Yeah, the
just follow
commissioners.
where your name tags are.
Yes. So, yeah, that would be nice. How are you doing? Good. How you doing? All right. Okay. Everybody settled in and ready to go? I've been given an order of some things here, so we're going to do introductory statements first, and the order that has been chosen is Don, Charlie, Dan, David. Danny, David.
You ready?
So, Don, you're first.
My name is Dawn Kuster. I am running for Eastern District Commissioner. My husband Rich and I just celebrated our 30th anniversary. We've got 3 girls, all graduated from Funston High School. That's where we raised our children. And I have been the front office manager for Stump Dentistry for the last 15 years. And this is my first time in the county political ring, but I have been the Funston City Collector for the last 19 years. We work on maintenance, we work on budgets, and right now we are actually getting ready to do our next budget. I'm very active in the community. I'm active in my church. I go to St. Peter and Paul. I am the coordinator for the Giving Tree for St. Peter and Paul every Christmas, and what that is we make sure that every resident of all of the area care centers have a gift at Christmas. We do that through our church. I am the coordinator. My husband and I have just run our 11th autism ride. We do a autism ride every year, and we donate all money to the Thompson Center in Columbia. And I also do the Santa's Closet in Funston, where we get donations from area residents, and I also purchase many things throughout the year. And right around Christmas, we let everybody come. We hold it up at the school. Everybody can come. Everything that's there is free. They just get to take it. Some kids get to get gifts for their parents that they might not otherwise be able to do. I also do the Easter egg hunt for the city of Funston every year. I fund everything pretty much myself. I've got one donation or donator every year. Otherwise, it's all funded by myself. Like I said, I'm just into the political ring this time. I've learned a lot, and I plan on continuing to learn as I go. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlie?
My name is Charlie Melkersman. I'm the current Eastern District Commissioner, and I thank Karen and the Chamber for hosting this event. I'm a lifelong resident of the area. I'll call it the area. I spent a few years over in Howard County. But with that being said, I was married for 35, almost 36 years to a most wonderful and beautiful lady who passed away 5 years ago. We have 2 children, Kylie and Evan. They're wonderful children. Shouldn't call them children anymore. They're responsible adults. I've had 1 grandchild for 3 years, and all of a sudden I'm going to blossom into 4 grandchildren. So I'm looking very forward to that this year. I've been involved in HR. That's my private sector experience. I'm very proud of that. I believe private sector experience coming into county government or state government or federal government is very critical. You take a look at running government bases in the sense of a private sector. I think there's a lot to that. Again, I was HR manager, human resource manager with all the typical generalist HR responsibilities, including environmental issues and safety and et cetera. For 38 years, I worked for a most wonderful company for 30 years out here at Nordine, a tremendous community involved employer, had a fantastic workforce. And I believe the personal qualifications I have to trustfully win a second term and carry forward is I have the experience. I'm 3.5 years into this term now. I've learned a great deal from the two commissioners I work with, and great honor to have worked with those people. I am ethical, responsive, accountable, practical, accessible, and dedicated. I've been involved in the community over probably almost 40 years, and I feel that builds toward who I am and what I've done for the community. I am quite proud of and committed to this community, and I think my community involvement builds on that. I served on the Boonville Lake Heartland YMCA Board of Directors for 11 years, was in multiple leadership positions over that period of time. 18 years involvement in the Relay for Life, 17 years I was involved as chair, co-chair, or chair. Member of the Boonville R1 School District Board of Education, 16 years, president for the last 10 years, board member and president of the Central Missouri Cancer Memorial Park, board member of the Central Missouri Community Action. I am the president of that as well too. There are several first-term key accomplishments I would like to discuss, and that could be done later. Again, I'm very proud and committed to this community and wish to carry on in a second term.
Thank you, Charlie. Danny?
Good evening. My name is Danny Larn, and I'm a Republican candidate for the Western District Commissioner of Cooper County. I would like to thank the Chamber of Commerce and the City of Boonville for the opportunity to be here. My wife Tina and I have 2 children and 3 grandchildren. We live on our family farm here in Cooper County. I'm a lifelong resident of Cooper County. I've been in the farming and construction industry for 46 years, and I own my own business for 33 years. I've thought of running for commissioner for many years. I'm at a point in my life where I feel I can dedicate the time to the office that it deserves. I have a love for people, and I'm truly interested in listening and learning what people have to say that I will be representing. I want to find solutions for problems of today and the challenges of tomorrow. Being a lifelong resident of Cooper County and my experience in farming and construction has helped me prepare me for this opportunity. Owning my own business has provided me with a great deal of experience in budgets, operations, and working with people as customers and business partners. This experience is excellent, is exactly what many of the voters have told me they would like as I have been campaigning. They want honesty and truth. I have the experience, and I will be honest with them. I would like the opportunity to represent the people of the Western District of Cooper County as your commissioner. I am asking for your support and vote on August 4th, and I will do everything in my power not to let you down. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. David, it's your turn.
Yes, I'm David Booker. I'm the Western District Commissioner. I'm seeking my 3rd term in office. In 2013, when I first became a commissioner, Cooper County had a budget, net cash available across all funds of $2.6 million. I came into the office questioning the thought process of the budget. And myself, along with Commissioner Paul Davis at that time, began to question the budget process. As a result, that year, the county clerk was so upset with our thoughts that his budget message had depicted cartoon characters, Wile E. Coyote and a Roadrunner, and Cooper County running over the fiscal cliff. In 2020, our budget surplus was $7.5 million. That fiscal cliff was almost 3 times as high. All the while, we paid off the jail early and completed several capital improvement projects. All this was done because of fiscal responsibility with your taxpayer dollars. Also, 7 years ago, as health insurance premiums were rising drastically, Cooper County was paying all the premiums for the employee. We approached a novel idea, self-insured. I'd never known anything but a self-insured insurance plan. So I advised the commission and we moved forward and we created a self-insured plan for our employees. As a result, in 7 years, the cost of our employees has only gone up $40 a month. That's what they pay. And we provided better insurance and lower deductibles. Last year, we did something historic as commissioners. We rolled back from the maximum tax levy. Because of our fiscal position, we were able to give back to the taxpayers. It's not all about roads. Although when we talk about roads, if we were to put an inch of gravel 20 foot wide over all of our gravel roads, it'd take $2 million. If we did dust control on those same roads, it's $4.2 million. And asphalt, that's beyond the realm of possibility at this time. Our rock budget for our roads is $525,000. I think our guys do the best they can do with what's available. In today's world, we're hearing today, let's defund the police. Well, I'm retired after 32 years with the Missouri State Highway Patrol as a supervising sergeant. I'm not about defunding the police. I'll stand with our police department and I will never vote to defund them. Let's continue to move Cooper County forward in a positive direction. I'm David Booker. I'm the Western District Commissioner. I'd appreciate your vote on August the 4th, and I thank the Chamber for making this event possible.
Thank you for those opening remarks. We'll deal with several questions now. The order for this one will be David, Don, Charlie, and Danny. And I'll kind of go through that again as we go around. So this question is, what are your priorities for the county commission if elected or re-elected? What are your priorities for the county commission if elected or re-elected? David, you're up first.
Well, right now we have a current priority that is very well fits with my background in public safety. We have a radio system that is in desperate need of repair. We're looking at a $300,000 project. We completed a $100,000 project by putting a new computer-aided dispatch center in our 911 center. So that is a desperate priority because it affects everyone in Cooper County, being able to receive our 911 calls and dispatch our first responders. So that's the first thing we have to deal with. It's very important.
Okay. Don.
I think my number one goal is, since I've been working with the city of Bunston for 19 years, I think I want to improve the communication and coordination between all the municipal governments within Cooper County. I think that everyone needs to know that their opinion matters, that their concerns matter, and I just think that we need to listen to everybody and do what best serves everyone within the county.
Thank you. Charlie?
I concur with David as far as that is a top priority, and as you'll note, that is certainly David's expertise. My area of expertise is the human resource side of things. You know, I will continue to do what David referred to a while ago, and that was evaluate our medical plan to ensure that we have cost containment and still provide our employees with the best medical plan possible, and even enhance it to some degree, which has been done the past year. Also, an overview of the policies. One of the first things I did coming aboard was rewrite the employee handbook, which was a total rewrite. And there was multiple surveys and et cetera that went into that. Out of that writing, we gave some structure of policy to our employees that they could read a book and see what's expected of them, that nature, and also enhance the vacation policy for our employees, plus give benefits to part-time employees. So those are some of the things that I will monitor and expand on.
Thank you, Charlie. Danny?
Well, I think too, pretty much the same thing, and I think the sheriff's office needs plenty of support and everything too. And the road guys do an excellent job out there with what they have to work with and everything. But I know when I've been out politicking, I've talked to a few people that have really kind of get ignored. And everybody should have a voice. Everybody pays taxes, so they should all be treated equal. And I intend to talk to everybody and do what I can for everybody. I mean, I know there's gonna be, some people's not gonna be satisfied with what you do, but we're trying to do the best with what we can and try and help everybody out.
Very good, I appreciate those answers. The second question here, I think maybe the incumbents have touched on a little of this, but maybe they can talk a little further on that. The order of this one will be Charlie, Danny, David, and Don. And that question is, what do you point to as a significant or significant accomplishments during your service as county commissioner? And for the challengers, is there anything you've seen as something significant that you would have done differently had you been in the role? Everybody have that? You want me to read that again?
No, that's fine.
Okay, so we have Charlie, Danny, David, and Don.
I'll defer back to one of the most important things I felt that when I came in was drafting an employee handbook. We had an old handbook that said things that we didn't do, and we were doing things that were not in the old handbook. It was quite antiquated, and et cetera. I took almost 1 year to put that together, to draft it, to get it written. And as I indicated, there were certain benefits that came out to our employees as well too, having done surveys through all Class 3 counties. I also updated the employment application that time. We had an application that was probably 30 years old. There's some legal issues with it as well too. I've done some of those types of things as well too. David and Donnie were kind in that they allowed me to start beginning some efforts toward interior and exterior improvements of the courthouse. I think you'll see a little cleaner courthouse that we can all be proud of. We still got a lot of efforts to do with that, and I hope to continue that in the second term.
Thank you, Charlie. Danny?
Well, I've seen some things that really kind of need to be put more up on the priority list. I know, like David said, dust control on some roads. Well, you can't do all the roads, dust control. That cost is enormous. But I know a few places could really use it where it's really a busy place, like at the quarries and stuff like that, where it wouldn't be that far to do it, but there's some places really need to have stuff like that done. And there's a few bridges that really kind of need to be worked on, and a couple of them need to be replaced. That would be actually a big help to, like the state, getting around doing things and buying rock in different places. And it's just a few things like that that really ought to be taken care of, that have really just been kind of set back.
Okay, thank you, Danny. David?
Well, as I said, my strength is public safety. Learned a lot. And when I first came in, people in the Western District were denied access to life-saving care by Staff Life Helicopter Service out of the university. It stopped at Highway 5. And I know one incident where a helicopter was needed out in the Western District, and it was coming from Kirksville when the helicopter was sitting on the ground in Columbia. We finally got that helicopter up, not because of the 911 director at the time, but because of the ambulance service. Subsequently, we now have life-saving medical care on the west side of Cooper County. They can have Staff for Life helicopter service. And I feel like that's a huge accomplishment for those people to be able to deliver that type of care.
Okay.
I'll just go. You want to know if we do anything different? I wouldn't do anything different as a commissioner. I've worked well with all of my commissioners in the past, and I stand by all of our decisions that we've made.
Thank you, David. Don, it's yours.
I'm going to repeat myself a little bit, but the biggest thing that I have heard on my campaign trail is that some of the rural communities, some of the smaller communities within Cooper County feel like their voices aren't heard. And so I just want to, my goal is to make sure that that everybody has a say, and that we just work, we work for the whole county, not just certain areas.
Well, thank you once again for those answers. We'll do 2 more questions. This order of answers for this one will be Danny, David, Dawn, and Charlie. All right. And that question is, what do you consider to be the 3 most important duties of this office?
Well, number 1 would be to listen to the taxpayers of the Western District, try and do what is good for them and what is good for everybody else, and help give them a good ambulance service, if at all possible, which I think everybody's doing a good job at that. And for the sheriff's department, so they have good access and be able to provide and take care of everything when they can. And I think they do a good job for that. And the road commissioner, the road guys, what I see really work hard with what they can do. So, I think that's it.
Okay. Okay, let's see. David.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is budget, because the county commissioners are in charge of setting the budget. It's a huge endeavor, and as you can see, we've grown our fiscal net cash available. So that's a huge amount of responsibility that we don't take lightly. That's primary. Second, I'm going to say is public safety. That's high on my list of things that we need to accomplish is public safety. Keep maintaining that. Keep it up at high levels. Support our sheriff's department. We're not going to defund them. And then I think lastly, it goes along the lines of fiscal responsibility. When we're able to roll the tax levy back to give back to the taxpayers, I think that's a huge advantage to all of us. So I can't see, the budget is the biggest thing that we work on.
All right, David, thank you. Dawn?
I'd love to say ditto, but I don't know that that would be acceptable. I'm going to agree with Mr. Booker over here. I think budget is the key, and it's not an easy thing to work with. I know through my experience on a smaller level, but I do know that is a hard thing to do. I think public safety is definitely a high priority, and then I also think just listening, just hearing everyone's concerns and addressing those issues as they come.
Thank you, Dawn. And Charlie?
There's a couple I share completely out there. Annually worked with other commissioners, with both commissioners and elected officials in creating a cost-effective budget. I think that's very important. We are the caretakers of our patrons, taxpayers' money, and we need to be very aware of that. The other side of that is public safety. Another side of that is listening to our constituents. I do that day in and day out. We take calls east, west, whatever, and I write that information down. I follow up on that information. I go to areas where I need to see certain things that I can better understand what the issue is. I think another very high priority is to provide a safe workplace, healthy workplace for all of our employees, and provide them with competitive benefits and wages.
All right, thank you, Charlie. Well, I know you guys will be disappointed to hear this, but this is going to be the 4th and last question for you. And this question is, what is your position on eliminating personal property tax on vehicles in the state of Missouri, and how would you see that affecting Cooper County, and or what adjustments would you make? And I guess I haven't told you the order for that. Does everybody understand the question? Need me to read it again or anything?
Read it again, would you please?
Yes. What is your position on eliminating personal property tax on vehicles in the state of Missouri, and how would you see that affecting Cooper County, and or what adjustments might be in order. The order for this is going to be Don, Charlie, Danny, and David.
Okay, so just coming into this, I don't know a whole lot about it. It is something that I'm learning as I go. I don't know that eliminating that tax would necessarily be a good idea, just because I'm thinking that that is going to be used for our roads, some of that income, and I don't think that that's something that we can neglect. I think that's something that we need to continue. I might be wrong on that, I don't know, but that is something that I would not be in favor of. I think that is something that we need to continue to do.
Charlie?
I've listened to a couple of people that have run for legislative positions indicating that they would go out and eliminate personal property tax. My question always has been to them is, what will you do to create another revenue stream to replace that? That's a downfall. I cannot even begin to fathom that if that were to be done, I would not be a proponent of it unless someone could be in a position to understand and generate the other revenue stream of how it would affect the schools, taxing entities, other things within our community. It would be devastating to do so.
Okay, thank you. And Danny?
Well, I've talked to a few people in other states where they have done that, and some places it seems to work pretty good. I mean, you won't be paying it on your vehicles, but you're paying it a little along on other things. In other words, you'd have a different percentage on your regular things that you buy is a little more, which would compensate for your vehicle tax, which to a taxpayer's point of view, you're actually looking at a little bit at a time that you're paying, rather than at the end of the year, you're paying a bigger percentage for coming up with a lot more money at one time. A few pennies along the way is a lot easier for most people to pay than hundreds of dollars at one time. So I think it would actually kind of work if it would work that way. And some of the states I've talked to, they've done it and it seems to work. So it's.
Thank you, Danny. David?
Well, I think, we've talked about fiscal responsibility. I think you'd have to take a strong, hard look at what dollar amounts we're talking about, because that has an impact on your overall budget. And it may be something that has a detrimental impact that wouldn't allow you to provide the services that you're providing at this time. And I don't think any of us want that. We need those goods and services that the county provides. So I don't have a real good answer other than say that would be something that have to be looked at, because I don't have a yes or no without having any facts or figures to bounce off of. How would you replace that income? That would be a huge factor in eliminating personal property taxes.
Very good. Well, thank each and every one of you for being here tonight to answer those questions, and wish all four of you good luck in the upcoming elections.
Thank you, Karen.
And I want to thank everyone here for participating. Had a really good turnout. You guys have lasted for 3 hours as an audience. Appreciate that. Hopefully you learned something about some of the other people running for other offices. I want to thank the Boonville Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this. You ladies that have assisted. Teresa Studley and the City of Boonville for hosting and doing the video. Thank you to Karen Esser, who I would describe as the hardest working lady in the Chamber of Commerce business. And wish good night and good luck to every one of you, and thank you again. Bill?
Ken, thank you for moderating.